To start off today, though, talking about what's going to be a very important facet of reform over the next couple of years, immigration. Lincoln-Goldfinch, almost said it backwards, back on the James Show with me, an immigration attorney. I want to start with you because I'm hearing some things that I have questions about. I'm hearing sheriffs say that they're going to help with the Trump deportation plans. I'm hearing some sheriffs say they're not going to comply. Are they allowed to do that? Selective enforcement always sounds like a gray area, sort of moral shaky ground. What are they required to do, Kate?
Sure. Well, local law enforcement is over their own jurisdiction. So the federal government isn't allowed to step in to the local, state or local agencies and say, you must enforce public safety this particular way. And so the federal government can invite these local agencies to enter into cooperative agreements where the local sheriffs or the local police officers are deputized to enforce immigration laws, but also the localities can reject and resist signing these agreements. And then the federal government will be looking at, okay, are there other ways that we can force this to occur?
Yeah, so we see this already with the sanctuary city laws. But has this already been adjudicated and people have been sued over this, and this is sort of settled law, or is this something that could change?
There definitely have been lawsuits, and the sort of current understanding is the way that I just described it, where the localities are, the masters of their own domain. That doesn't mean it's not going to be relitigated or that the Trump administration won't try forcing cooperative agreements in new ways. And of course, we're in the state of Texas, so we have the potential of Senate Bill 4, which is a state law that's currently held up in the courts, which creates a state level crime for entering illegally, and then all Texas law enforcement agents would, of course, be required to enforce that law against the commission of that crime. So, but I think what we're going to see, what we should anticipate, is that throughout the United States, there are going to be areas that are immigrant safe and areas that are not immigrant safe, and that is probably going to impact the ways that immigrants live and where they go, and it will impact economies. And I would anticipate that places that lose a lot of immigrants will struggle economically, will have difficulty being able to continue all the construction projects and things like that.
Well, are we making a difference here between illegal and legal immigration here? Are legal immigrants, are they going to be swept up or moved depending on the sheriff in town?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about in the interior of the United States, a police officer enforcing immigration laws, there's no way to really do that without racially profiling people. Unless an officer actually sees someone cross the border without status, how are they going to, suspect or enforce or even have probable cause against someone? So people who may look or sound or act like an immigrant, regardless of their legal status in the United States, are going to be the ones who are targeted and swept up. And with the swiftness of the deportation plans that are expected under Trump, I also anticipate that we will see people who are actually in legal status, in the very least, get detained and maybe even deported. There are going to be some people who get deported even though they might have a work permit or a green card.
Right, but I don't think that's inherently racist, even though there could be a racial element to it. If there's a white dude here that's only speaking German and not speaking English, and I can see a reason for a cop to be suspicious of his immigration status, and oh my goodness, it's a white guy. So yeah, I mean, I think there's many factors in there that doesn't have to be something that's deemed racist.
I don't personally expect that a lot of white guys who are speaking German are going to be targeted by police officers in Texas. Most likely it will be Hispanic people who are driving their cars who are pulled over and asked for their papers. It will look a lot more like that than white people with an accent.
Well, right, because that's what we have, floating around here. There's not a whole lot of back-of-the-house restaurants that are speaking German.
Right, and so to my point, there will be racial profiling against people who look like immigrants in the exercise of these laws and these cooperative agreements. And that just is the truth. And
I think if you're a cop, I think one of the big telltale signs is whether or not you have an accent, because it doesn't matter what your skin tone is. If they sound just like you and I do, Kate, it's easy assumption that you're probably not an illegal immigrant.
Well, having an accent also does not mean that you are undocumented. So
Agreed.
It's not a good. Here's the bottom line. In the work that I've done talking, I've heard a lot of sheriffs, I've heard a lot of heads of police agencies talk about this, and what they tend to say overall is, our job is public safety. Our job is community policing, making sure that the whole community is safe and that people who are victims of crime feel comfortable coming to the police. People who are witnesses to crime cooperate with us. We have a good relationship with the community. And when we as police officers are forced to enforce immigration laws, this whole segment of our population all of a sudden is very scared of us. And that makes it really hard for overall public safety, and we're already strapped on our resources as a police agency. We're trying to enforce the laws that exist, not this additional set of very complex laws. In general, most of the leaders of these departments have spoken and feel that way about, this kind of requirement.
In Dallas County, 1 month this year, we had 14 illegal immigrants arrested for sex crimes with children alone. How do you balance those concerns of public safety with hurting people's feelings?
So the overall statistics show that immigrants commit crimes on a much, much, much lower rate than native-born Americans. That doesn't mean that there aren't immigrants who also commit crime, but if we're worried about crime, the immigrant community is not the most dangerous community that should, be the focus if we want to make something better.
So you're okay with the 14 kids getting raped?
Well, I didn't say that. We're talking about overall for public safety.
Well, I don't mean like you would encourage that, but that's an acceptable loss in your book.
No, of course it's not an acceptable loss. I'm not okay with any child getting raped, but what's your point? I mean, what I'm saying is that because some immigrants committed crimes doesn't mean that overall every immigrant is a criminal. In fact, it is the opposite, that immigrants
No one said that. No one has said ever on the show that every immigrant's a criminal, Kate.
Okay. What I'm saying is that overall, in terms of those of us who are concerned about public safety, right, if that's our concern, immigrants are the lowest group of criminals. We should not be spending our time focusing on immigrants. If our concern is public safety, there are other things we should be focusing on.
All right. I appreciate you having you on the show, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch from Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, immigration attorney. If you need some help in immigration, you can hear that she certainly stands up for what she believes in and is not afraid to come on dangerous territory. Thank you very much, Kate. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
I really do appreciate guests like that, because people who think like that rarely call in the show, and then you have someone who can actually articulate that side of the position well. So that's great stuff.